Hey everybody, Brandy here doing my comments from my Stampin' Studio today. Today I'm going to show you how to make this adorable Valentine's card. Hello, I'm yours. I'm also going to help you create or teach you how to create this stencil that I've used in the background. It's going to be a reusable stencil and you're going to be making it out of this material which is called Oramask 813. You're going to be cutting it on your Silhouette Cameo or your Cricut. I'm going to show you how to design it in Silhouette Studio, but you can use the same concepts in your Cricut design space. And then at the very end of this video, I'm going to share with you how you can download my SVG file that I created this heart shape background for free. All right, let's get started. Okay, before I get started, I want to share with you why I am looking for an alternative to create stencils. I love stencils and I absolutely love working with them with my paper crafting. And I love to use different types of media. This particular stencil, loved it. I used some Nouveau glimmer paste. It was a green glitter, and oh my god, I don't know if you can see this. I'm gonna see if I can move it over. Put that there. No, that's not gonna help. Oh, let's see. Maybe that'll help. Yeah. So I don't know if you can see, but it is still very covered with all of the glimmer paste and the glitter and stuff. It's very hard to clean, and particularly if you have a stencil like this that has a lot of smaller pieces that kind of jut out and it's not really secure to the whole stencil as it is. And when you clean it, it's really difficult to clean because you're often trying to scrape stuff off, and I have kind of messed up the stencil doing that. Let me show you another example. This is a stencil that I used this past Christmas from excuse me, scrapbook.com. It's called Snowflakes, and I loved it. I used it a lot, but yeah, you can see I couldn't get that glitter off. Now, I don't know. I mean, I can still use this stencil because it's not terrible. It's not damaged too bad. But I find that when I use this type of material, I just can't get it clean. Even if I put it in water immediately after use, inevitably it's very difficult to clean. And so I was getting ready to do some Valentine's cards, and I've got the perfect stencil for that, also from scrapbook.com. It's called Heart, and it's this repeating pattern of hearts, and I love it, and I will use it for projects where I'm like blending inks and distressed oxide inks and stuff like that. But if I'm going to be doing anything kind of thick or sticky or whatever, I just really like to keep my stencils clean. So I decided I wanted to create my own design and use a reusable material. Now, I could use my Silhouette's Cameo to cut out a stencil out of acrylic, and it would be very similar to this, and it would be very durable. The problem I find is that sometimes getting very intricate designs on at least from my experience, other people have had better luck, but from my experience, it's been very difficult getting a design out of acetate because it's such a hard material, and getting intricate designs in there is very difficult. So what I decided to do is to experiment with this material. It's called Oramask. And it's 813, and it's just basically a very thin material that is positionable, and I just cut the design out on this and used it as a stencil. Now, I will say that you're not able to use it forever and ever. I like to use this type of material when I'm creating card swaps, where I'm creating the same design over and over again. And so I did that with this particular card here. This is my January card swap for my card makers card swap group, and I wanted to create that heart shaped design in the background, and I wanted to use the glitter based, and so again I didn't want to use my nice stencils and get them all mucked up and stuff. So I'm going to show you how to create your own design and then how to cut it out and then reuse it for multiple cards. I think out of this batch I got probably 8 or 7 cards without having to destroy the stencil. You'll see what I mean when we get started. Okay, so we are going to create our stencil, and we're going to cut it with Oracal Mask 813. It's typically a material that you use when creating stencils for signs and such, but I wanted to use it for card making, and I wanted to create a replicating pattern background. And so here we go. I'm using the Silhouette Studio Business Edition, so you may see some panels and some options that are not available to you if you have the basic or the designer edition, but you should be able to recreate this just the same. I will put links down below where if you want to upgrade to your edition and to designer or business if you'd like. I like to use the business edition because it allows me to create my design and then get to upload it or export it as SVG. Which brings me back to my other point, is that I will be I will have a link where you can download this SVG file when I'm completed with it if you do not want to design it yourself. Alright, first thing I want to do is create a box, and this is going to be the box, basically the outline of the cut of the stencil. And I want to make this 6 by 6. So I just created a box, and now I'm going to go over to the transform panel, which is already open. I'm going to click on the scale tab, and then I'm going to go down here in the specify dimensions, and I'm going to choose 6 by 6. Alright, now I want to create another box, and this is going to be my card front. Let me just create a different fill color for that so we don't get confused. And then my card front is going to be, my card front is going to be 5.5 by 4.25. So I'm going to select that card front. I'm going to go over to the transform, hit the scale, and then I'm going to change this to 4.25 by 5.5. And this is just going to give me a scale perspective of what space I need to fill up with my repeating pattern. Okay, so for now we can move this to the side, and now we've just got our card panel. I want to use a shape, in this case a heart shape, that I can create a repeating pattern. So I'm going to go to my library, and I'm going to choose a heart from the different items that I have here. I've got this heart, and I've got that heart, and I kind of like this heart a little bit better, so I'm going to double click that, bring it in. Now I don't need all of this interior stuff. The hands shape for I love you, don't need that, so I'm going to right click it. It doesn't give me the option to ungroup it, so I'm going to go ahead and release the compound path. This breaks it up into smaller pieces, and then I can select the innards and just delete them one by one. Alright, so now I'm left with the heart, and I want to resize this. So I'm going to hit my shift key, or actually select it first, hit my shift key, and then drag the corner down so it sizes proportionally. And then I'm going to move him right there and see if I think that's going to be a big enough heart. I'm going to just make it a little bit bigger. Yep, that looks about right. Alright, so move this guy over. Now I want to repeat this heart. So I've got it selected. I'm going over to the replicate panel, and I'm just going to replicate a few of these. And I don't need all of them, I think, so let's just see here. Yeah, let's see. me move this heart here and this heart here, and that's about the width I need it to be. Let me see what happens when I delete this heart. Alright, so I want to have these evenly spaced, and I want to see what that looks like. So I'm going to go over to the transform panel again, and I'm going to first align it vertically by doing the align top, and then I'm going to horizontally space it. And basically it's going to use this heart and that heart as the edges, and then space all of the hearts in between evenly. So let's look at that. That looks pretty good. Alright. And, oops. Do I need one more? Nope, that should be good. Alright, so I'm going to take that row. I'm going to group it. Then I'm going over to the replicate panel. And then I'm going to replicate downward. Nope, just need one row. Alright, and so now I'm going to take this and offset it. Let me zoom in a little bit so I can see how I'm doing that. Yep, that looks pretty good. Alright, so you want to make sure that one, you've got enough space in between each of these cut files, or in between each of these cuts. Because this Oracal 813 is a very thin material, if you don't give it enough material in between, you run the risk of having it tear when you pull it up off the paper. So I always like to make sure that I've got enough material in between. Enough spacing, and that looks about right. Yep, I think that'll work. Alright, so let's go ahead and group this, and then I want to replicate this downward. Okay, let me bring my card front back in. Let me scroll down. Oops. Okay, we didn't need this row. And I don't think we need that last row. Let me oh, it's selecting this. Let me just select this guy there. Let's ungroup. And then we'll delete that last row. Alright. So I want to move this one down. Okay. Now, I want to make sure that I have enough space, and there we go. Click on the heart. I want to make sure there's enough space on the bottom of this. So I'm giving it a little bit of room there, and click on the heart and a little bit of room up at the top there. Yep. Okay, now we can move. And I want to align it up this way and then also space it this way. So I'm going to select all of it, and I'm going to line it up horizontally, and then I'm going to vertically space it. So that should be looking really good right there, and it sure does. Okay, let's zoom back out. Let's bring our stencil. We don't need the card front anymore. Let's bring the stencil out here. It's really hard to tell our cut lines. Let's change that color. Change it to, there we go, that's easier. Maybe make it a little bit lighter. Okay, so what we're going to do is now I want to make sure that I get the cuts, the hearts, in the exact center of the stencil. So we're going to select the square, and I'm going to go down to the transform panel, and this time I'm going to use horizontally align its center, and then vertically align its center, and then I'm going to do the same thing. Oops, hold on. This will be easier. Let's group this up together first. Group. All right, we will horizontally center it and vertically center it, and then we will choose the square and we'll horizontally center that and vertically center that. So that should be exactly center. And let's just move our card front there just to see. Yep, looks great. All right. Now let's group that together. And then I want to move it. Oops. I want to move it to this corner right here. Okay, so we go over to send. And I typically use my tool 2. I don't use the automatic blade. So I need to change this. So I'm going to select all of this, and then I'm going to choose no cut. And then I'm going to select it again, and then I'm going to use tool 2, and I'm going to do a cut. And I want to change the material. And I find that the vinyl matte is pretty good for the Oracal 813. And that has a force or a depth of 10, a speed of 5 with 1 pass. And the vinyl cuts 1, although I can find, sometimes I do it between 1 and 3. Just depends on the mat I'm using and the blade. So you can use any of those. And all right, and then we're going to hit send. Alright, so now is the fun part. We get to weed out our design. And as you can see here, the design has been cut. And one word of warning, with this particular material, definitely need to pull the mat up off of the material versus the other way around. This will definitely help you out in the long run. So trust me on that. Alright, don't worry about all those little bubbles you see. We're going to flatten those out. Because this material, it's so lightweight that it does bubble up pretty good, and I like to get smaller pieces to be able to work with it a little bit better and be able to manage those bubbles. Alright, so what I'm going to do right now is we are going to peel the outline off of the stencil, so all we're left with is that square that we created in the design. And that's just basically going to be the outside of the stencil. And I'm using my Cricut weeding tools. I love Cricut's weeding tools. Even though I don't have a Cricut and I use the Silhouette Studio or the Silhouette Cameo, I love Cricut's tools. They are awesome, and it's really easy just to kind of poke through and pull those hearts up. So I'm just going to fast forward here so you can kind of see it in fast motion. But basically you're going to want to cut out all of those hearts. So now all that weeding is done. Now I'm just going to kind of smooth out the bubbles and make sure that the stencil is as flat as possible. I'm using my favorite transfer paper here. It's from Craftopia, and I swear this is the best transfer paper out there. I absolutely love it. It's not so tacky that you can't lift it up and fix any mistakes. I did have a little bubble right there, and I was just trying to smooth it out a little bit. And you see I kind of pull it back because I couldn't get the bubble out, and it didn't pull up the design. So I really liked that. Just getting it down, and then I'm going to go ahead and peel back both of those layers. So I've got the transfer paper or the transfer sheet, whatever you want to call it, and then my silhouette, my stencil on that sheet. And what I want to do before I actually use this on my card is I want to do a little test run. What I have found is that Oramask 813 is kind of sticky. It's not as sticky as like permanent vinyl, but it can pull up some of your paper. So I like to use a test run, and I use my anti-static tool to kind of lay down a layer of powder. And I'm just going to kind of smooth this over there, and I'm just basically going to get some of that sticky off of the stencil, so when I put it on my actual project, it's not going to tear the paper. So I'm going to be really careful and pull back that transfer sheet, and then I'm going to set that to the side. I'm going to use that again later, and now I'm going to carefully pull back. The first time you do this, it's going to be a little bit more difficult, but as you reuse the stencil, it gets easier and easier. But basically all I'm doing is just carefully pulling back the design. Now you'll notice that this is the reason why we want to have some of that material in between those little cuts. I did this design earlier where the hearts were a little bit too close together, and there just wasn't enough of that material, that Oramask, in between the cuts. And it ended up tearing the material, and I wasn't able to use it as a stencil. So lesson learned, just make sure you get those little cuts far enough away from each other so when you're pulling it back, you're not going to actually rip the stencil. And as you can see, there was a little piece of paper that pulled up on that, but that's okay. So I'm just going to place the stencil back down. This is actually the carrier, the Craftopia backing to that transfer sheet, but you could also use the backing to the Oramask as well. So I'm just going to flatten it out there with my little scraper tool, and then I'm going to place the transfer sheet back over it just to protect the stencil while I'm not using it. Now the next thing we're going to do is color the background. I'm using Neenah white Solar Crest paper and the distressed oxide. We've got the festive berries there. I just basically place some of that ink down on my Tim Holtz glass media mat. I find it's probably one of the best media mats for me to pick up ink and just go right onto the paper. It's very smooth, and I just love how it helps me lay the ink down really well. And so just picking up some of that ink and going to town. I'm going to go ahead and finish this background by coloring in that distressed oxide ink in the festive berry color. So now that we have the card all colored, I want to prepare the paper by putting some more of that anti-static powder, using my tool there, getting it nice and coated. And then I'm going to put that stencil on there, and I'm going to do it at an angle. This is kind of the look I was going for with this card. So I carefully place that down. Now I don't want to press too hard because I don't want it to really stick to the back to that paper, but I am going to kind of lightly push it down, and then I'm going to pull back that transfer sheet. And because there were a couple of pieces that had not adhered down, so I went ahead and laid it back down. And we're going to pull back that transfer sheet. And because that stencil material is adhesive, I don't actually even have to do anything to keep the paper down, because the stencil basically holds the paper down on itself. Alright, so now I've got a couple of exposed corners there, and I am just using some post-it notes because I don't want to get any glitter paste on those corners, and because then you'll definitely be able to tell that it was a stencil. And I am just sort of wedging it underneath the stencil and letting that stencil hold it down. So that's what I'm doing there. And then we're going to use the Nouveau, I believe this is the red garnet glitter paste, and I'm just going to spread some down there with my spatula and just get a really nice thick coating of it. I'm going to fast forward this part for you so you don't have to sit here and watch me do it all, but it's just getting the glitter is down as thick as you can and just kind of evenly spreading it about. Now it's time to peel back the stencil and see the design that we have created. So I'm just going to lift up the stencil material and carefully pull that back. I've got one finger on the card so it doesn't move while I pull back the stencil, and look at that. We've got our repeating pattern of hearts there. It looks so cute. And now I want to store that stencil so I can reuse it. And there you go. There's the hearts. There's the background. So I'm just going to lay that stencil down on the transfer sheet that it came on. And I'll put the I'm sorry, not the transfer sheet, the backing. And then I'll put the transfer sheet on top of it. Clean my surface, and then I'm just going to show you how I reused that stencil over and over again. So I've just got a little fast forward action going on here. I believe I used the stencil probably 7 or 8 times before it got too mucky, and then I just had to throw it away. But I was able to create this these backgrounds for my card swap, and it was a nice alternative to using my really nice stencils that I have bought, because this stuff is really messy, and although I love the look of it on my cards, it's sometimes a little bit difficult to clean up. Alright, so right here what I'm doing is I'm measuring about 4 1/8 or 4 1/4 down on the card on the long side, and I'm going to do this on both sides of the card. This is going to help give me a guide as to where I'm going to put the scalloped stitched edge there. That's a My Favorite Things die, and I'm doing this because I'm creating several different cards of the same design, and I kind of want them all to look the same. You certainly didn't have to do that with this card if you're just making a one-off, you know, just sort of eyeballing it, but I wanted them to all look the same, so I decided to put that little tick mark there on the edge and line up my dies approximately the same space on all of the cards. So just going to put some purple craft tape there and go send that through the Big Shot. Alright, now that it has come through the Big Shot, we're going to pull back the bottom piece, and what we're left is this beautiful little scalloped stitched edge. I just think that it creates a really nice finished look, particularly with this stenciled card that I've made here. Alright, and I apologize for the in and out zooming action. I use a webcam, and I still haven't figured out how to make it stop doing that, so I apologize if if you're getting a little seasick there. Now sometimes the glimmer paste kind of goes over the edge of the paper, so I was just trimming off a very sliver of it so I could get like a straight edge, and that way I can line it right up against that black background. That black background is measured at 5 1/4 by 4 inches, and so I'm just going to use some of the Lawn Fawn glue tube here. And I love this glue because it's wet. I'm able to position it even after I've laid it down. It gives me a couple of seconds to do that, and when I'm trying to line up things very accurately, like the edge of this black cardstock, I love that that glue allows me to do that. The next part of the card, I actually used a die, word die with a outline, and this is from Pinkfresh. It's called Hello Word Die, and it's actually made exclusively for scrapbook.com. I went ahead and die cutted three of the three cardstocks of the word, and sort of layered them up to kind of give it some dimension. And then I cut the outline in vellum. And I'm going to use the Lawn Fawn glue to adhere the letters to the vellum. And again, love the clear glue here. It allows me to move it a little bit once I get it on that vellum, and it also does not take very much. You can put little tiny dots in there and it does hold strong. So I've got all of those letters, and they're not connected, so they do come in three pieces. The H is one piece, the ELL is another, and then the O is another one. But I really liked how that looks. So, all right, so right here I am, well, I feel like you are too. I'm going to be embossing the sentiment I'm Yours, which comes from the XOXO sentiments stamps from scrapbook.com, and I'm using some black cardstock, putting down some of that embossing tool powder, and I'm going to use some VersaMark to ink up the sentiment, and then I'm going to emboss it with white embossing powder. So just using my MISTI to line up and get a perfect stamp. I just love using my MISTI. It was really a game changer for me. I used to waste a lot of paper not getting a perfect image stamped, and I just love the MISTI for this purpose. Once the stamp has been stamped with the VersaMark, you're going to want to put some white embossing powder on there, which I'm doing here. And I'm just doing that over a sheet of folded paper, and then I'm going to tap off the excess, and then I'm going to run that through the heat gun to set that. That stamp is actually from the XO stamp set from scrapbook.com. And I didn't get this part on video, but I cut out the I'm Yours sentiment with the My Favorite Thing slanted sentiment die, and then I popped it up with some of the new double-sided foam adhesive that scrapbook.com has come out, and they've got some larger squares, which is what I use to pop the sentiment up. And then you can see up to the right I've got the hello die cut, word die cut cut out, and I've got some of the tiny squares that scrapbook.com has got with the double-sided adhesive. I just basically cut those down to hide behind the letters. I'm using some Tombow Extreme Glue Runner to put this card base onto, or the card front onto the card base. I like it because it's very strong. Used to be a Stampin' Up product called Fast Fuse. It's actually a Tombow product. Stampin' Up no longer sells it, but I still have my Fast Fuse case. Then I just use some of those scrapbook.com's square dots to place the hello and pop that up off the page. Lastly, I'm going to be using some embellishments from Honeybee Stamps. This is called their Silver Lights, and they're basically sequins without the hole in the middle. And I love this color, particularly with this black and red theme here. I'm using a jewel stick to pick the jewels up, and I'm just going to place them in the different areas on the card. I like to do this first to kind of get an idea of where I want to place things before I actually glue them down. And then I'm going to use the Lawn Fawn glue tube to place just a tiny little dot of glue down, and then use that jewel stick to lay down the jewels or the embellishments where I want them. Alright, well I hope this video was helpful for you, and I hope that I have inspired you to create your own background stencil using your Cricut machine or your Silhouette Studio. The ideas and the possibilities are endless when it comes to using your Cricut machine in your paper crafts. Now, if you decide to create your card like this, please do join my Stamp Me Some Love Stampers Facebook group. I will post a link down below where you can join for free, and I would love to see your own creations using this design. As I promised, I will put a link down below also where you can download the SVG file that I created, this heart background, and you can use it for free. Just my gift to you. Now, I've got a couple of other announcements to make, and I want to make sure that you all know about our Card Makers Card Swap. We have a theme every month, and I'm going to post a link down below also where you can join that group. If you wouldn't mind, do me a huge favor, and please do give me a thumbs up if you enjoyed this video. Hit that subscribe button, and make sure you hit that bell so you get notified every time I upload a new video. This helps me out tremendously with my YouTube channel here, and it helps support my blog, and I really do appreciate it. Alright, we'll see you in the next video. Take care. Life happens. I comment. Stamp me some love. Bye-bye.